Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue. A representative of the NAACP was booed when he talked about a black-brown coalition.
The numbers, what we can have is that solidarity, because our causes are our causes. So we all know that we want to be able to eat. You know, we should all be able to eat, to flourish, to be able to be happy in this city. And so whatever that looks like to you is what needs to be communicated to the powers that be.
Solidarity with whom? Could you describe who need to be in solidarity with? I'm confused.
For me, that's black and brown people throughout the city. Well, I'm not sure what the issue is there, but if it's a numbers game, we're going to have the same problem. The world Hey.
Now, during a panel discussion featuring the advice show Philip Scott and Vicki Dillard, a man dressed in an NAACP hoodie talked about the need for solidarity between black and brown people. And after he made this statement about a black-brown coalition, many of the panelists looked unimpressed, and even Philip Scott bowed his head, and the audience booed this whole statement, showing a rejection of this idea that had been pushed in the black community during the days of the civil rights movement. Now, this is the second response we've seen from foundational black Americans pushing against old narratives that were pushed in the black community. Now, I remember Professor Black Truth showing some footage of a young brother coming out as they were having a National Action Network event. And as they were having this National Action Network event, he was talking about tangibles and reparations, pushing back against the spin narratives of the old legacy civil rights movement and its civil rights leaders. And with this whole statement, we see the black community of foundational black Americans once again pushing back against one of these old narratives as related to the black-brown coalition, which many of us foundational black Americans who are a part of Generation X know is nothing more than complete bullshit. Because there never really was a black-brown coalition, and I know this from personal experience growing up here in the South Bronx, where we had a black community all the way for a while, but as black folks started forming this coalition with Hispanics, what happened is that we got a Hispanic borough president, Fernando Ferrer, in 1984, and as Hispanics started building businesses in black communities, like bodegas and other institutions, they started taking over the economy of the community. And after they took over the economy of the community, they went out and worked with white supremacy to push black people out. And now today, the Bronx is predominantly Hispanic, and most of the few remaining black people are here see their communities further being taken over, where they don't have any sort of economic power, no sort of political power, and nobody looking to give them any sort of tangibles or even give them any of the jobs in their own community where they live. And this is where many foundational black Americans realized here in the Bronx that there was no black-brown coalition, and many more in other communities like Kid Organic has talked about. I mean, he talked about in South Central how the Mexicans basically pushed all the black people out. So people are seeing that there is no solidarity between black and brown, and we basically saw that with the 2016 election, the 2020 election, and the 2024 election, where a lot of Hispanics weren't looking to have a coalition with black people as they went out here and voted for the orange man, because what they really wanted was to go out here and be white supremacist adjacent. And I'm not going to say white adjacent, but white supremacist adjacent. And as they looked to form a covert contract with the orange man and the far right, they thought they could get a gateway into being a part of white supremacy, only to have the orange man basically go out here and look to slam a door on that with his ICE enforcement. And many of those same brown people are actively open to looking to participate in supporting racists like that, and continue to support racists in the black community, because a lot of these people who are a part of the brown are really anti-black. And we saw this recently with a shooting that took place at a mosque in San Diego. One of those shooters was a Hispanic man. And that what this whole situation is showing many black people is that many who are brown are anti-black. So more and more black people are starting to realize that there was no black and brown coalition. And as we realize that there is no black and brown coalition, more and more black people are getting on code. And as we get on code, this is the thing that is got many of those legacy types, like this guy with the NAACP sweatshirt, shaking in their boots. And it's got them shaking in their boots because they know they can no longer go out here and sell the soap of the NAACP, which is about the National Association for the Advancement of Certain Colored People. And those certain colored people are mostly these bootlicks and these shills who go out here and get their benefits from the system of white supremacy, because the NAACP in and of itself never really was a black institution. No, it was never really one founded by us foundational black Americans. No, if you look at the history, it was an organization formed by many of these whites out here and their supporters, with a couple of really good black folks like the late Ida B. Wells and other people, but it never really was about our advancement, and it wasn't about looking to push a black empowerment or a black agenda. But now many foundational black Americans realize that this organization and its ideals are completely outdated, because we are no longer about empty symbolic gestures or forming coalitions and alliances with people who are working against us behind the scenes. No, we understand that we are on our own, and as we are on our own, we're focusing on looking to develop our own platform, and develop our own platform that goes out here and specifically is for us. Because when it came to these coalitions were about everybody else getting theirs and us just being used as buffers and blosters to bluster up the numbers but get nothing in return. As related to tangibles, we got nothing out of the deal outside of being said, oh, we are alongside you, but as these people got theirs, they basically leapfrogged over us, and they went out here and used black to move themselves up, and not move themselves up to go out here and show that America was fair, but look to move themselves up to climb the hierarchy of white supremacy. And that's where many of us foundational black Americans are just saying enough is enough. Many of us Gen Xers, many of us millennials, many Gen Z, many Gen Alpha, we've changed the whole narrative from that of the baby boomers, which were all about acceptance and looking to go out here and form these coalitions with all these other different groups who at the end of the day went out here and stood with us then once they got theirs, decided to become a part of white supremacy. That's where a lot of black people just are tired of this nonsense, and we're no longer with this whole solidarity tip. And I'm really glad to see more and more black people walking away from these old narratives that are detrimental to us. I'm glad to see more and more black people openly pushing back, and it really shows me the overall impact of new black media over the last, I would say, 18 years, ever since we got the YouTube platform and new black media forming online. We've seen a complete change as related to the narratives of mainstream media, where I remember watching many talk shows where you would get one of these NAACP clowns, and they would be talking about unity, they would be talking about diversity and inclusion, and pushing all these narratives. And now we're seeing more black people saying, hey, we're not with these narratives because these narratives are completely detrimental to us. We understand that the only reason why you come into black people is because you want to use us as the face of your story, meanwhile covertly pushing an agenda where you're looking to work against us. You're looking to go out here and form these coalitions so you can come into our communities and exploit our economy, exploit our resources, and take money out of our community. And that's where black people again are saying enough is enough. If you don't want to do anything specifically for foundational black Americans, we don't want nothing to do with you. And we don't want you talking about you represent us. No, we represent ourselves. And thanks to the internet, more and more of us are speaking out. More of us are speaking out and forming our own platforms. And we're letting many of these folks who want to push the so-called solidarity movements and the coalitions. No, you ain't going to be the ones who speak for us. No, we'll speak for ourselves on the issues that relate to foundational black Americans. And the agenda that we have is completely different than that of the NAACP. We're the ones who brought up the point of the anti-black hate crime law. I mean, that was one of the things I proposed in a video many years ago. I said, we need the anti-black hate crime law because we are the ones who have to deal with most of the racism in this country, because the foundation for this country was anti-black racism. And it was an insult that we got an anti-Asian hate crime law over an anti-black hate crime law, when most of the racism that rooted in this country was anti-black racism. And we also are talking about reparations, because this country was built by foundational black Americans, and we have not been compensated for that labor, nor are we compensated for the current and ongoing discrimination that keeps many foundational black Americans, especially foundational black American men, out of jobs. So we're with a completely different agenda. And what I'm seeing is more and more black people becoming aware. And that was the great thing to see in this whole video, was seeing black people get on code. That's the other thing that I liked, was seeing black folks get on code, because the thing is that we have been off code for so many years, and it was great to see black folks getting on code and letting people know that the age of the bootlick is going to be so far over, because we're not going along with your narratives, not going along with your whole be with other people. No, we want something specifically for us, and we're pushing back against these narratives that we know have not worked. We're not about no solidarity with people who are not, again, solid, have never been solid for us, because many of those people on the brown side, once they got theirs, they wasn't talking about black people. They don't talk about black people when they got their power. I saw that firsthand here in the Bronx. They wasn't talking about black people in any way, shape, or form. And none of these people have panels talking about us, but we got all of these bootlicks and shills talking about solidarity with other people because they're afraid to stand up on their own. And I'm glad to see us pushing back. I'm glad to see us standing up. I'm glad to see black people waking up and seeing how to do things, because the faster we start working with each other, the faster we can lay out our agenda and start laying out a direction for our community, and stop being the pawn of everybody else and stop being the one that everybody uses as a stepping stone towards moving themselves up towards living the American dream of being a part of white supremacy at our expense. That's what I'm glad to see. Let these folks go out here and hold their own nuts, move their own cheese. We ain't got nothing to do with them. No, they're the ones who wanted to go out here and support white supremacy and the orange man, and we're leaving them to that. And as we leave them to that, we're starting to delineate from these bootlicks, these shills, and other supporters out here who want to stay on the old path of the baby boomers and the whole world of this inclusion of a place where you're not being included. I mean, many of us are pushing back, and I'm glad to see that happen once again. I mean, this is the second, again, I'll repeat it once more, the second incident where I'm seeing more people talking with new black media talking points, and it shows me that it's a new day in the black community and things are really changing for the better. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint and support a black-owned business, you can go out here and find those books on Amazon.com and other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos taking situations like this and presenting them on the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.